Biden says there is, quote, no shift in his commitment to Israel, and again calling for a two-state solution with the Palestinians. This after a ceasefire yesterday ended an 11-day conflict that left at least 243 Palestinians and a dozen Israelis dead. Hours after the truce began, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu issued this warning to the Islamic militant group Hamas.
If Hamas thinks we will tolerate a drip of rockets, it is wrong. We will respond in a different power to any show of aggression against the communities surrounding Gaza or anywhere else in the state of Israel. What happened in the past will no longer take place.
Let's bring in now Walid Phares. He is joining us. He's a Fox News national security and foreign affairs analyst. So, Walid, does Prime Minister Netanyahu's new verbal warning signal that he doesn't believe that the international heat on Hamas will be enough to keep them from breaking the truce? And is his ominous verbal warning the right move?
Well, first of all, yes, he has to warn because he entered an agreement of ceasefire. It's not really a written document. It's not an international convention. Things could happen again. He is projecting that Hamas will strike again because it did in the past, in 2014. And before that, there were many clashes. But the bigger question is, why is Hamas waging those missiles? Well, the answer that they're given is that because there are demonstrations in Jerusalem. But you don't respond with shelling if there are demonstrations and counter-demonstrations. This is why Prime Minister Netanyahu is almost sending this message. You want to demonstrate, you can, but you're going to engage in warfare, then the full power of Israel will be used.
So with the eyes of the world watching, though, Walid, what would be a reason for Hamas to break the truce?
Well, there were reasons in the past, and I assume there will be reasons in the future. Over the past few years, Hamas has been acting not just as a local guerrilla, of course it's our terrorist here in the United States, but also as an ally to Iran. The real story begins in Tehran. There were no reasons for Hamas military involvement because there was no Israeli military involvement before that. What happened is that the Iranians are using Hamas to send a message to whom? To the United States, to the Biden administration, almost telling us, if you do not remove the sanctions fast enough, we can destroy the peace process, and that's their way to doing it.
So what's in it, though, for Iran besides removing sanctions? I mean, really, do they really want to, stoke the bear of the United States? Do they really want a conflict there in Israel between the Israelis and the Palestinians? Will it really benefit Iran?
Artel, this is very, very difficult question because you have to understand what the Iranian strategy is. So they want to continue with their military program. They want to continue with supporting the militias. Hamas is one, but you have Hezbollah, Houthis, militias in Iraq and in Syria. And on the other hand, they want to receive the benefits of removing the sanctions because their economy is very bad. They may think that the Biden administration, despite everything else, is going to go and sign the Iran deal. So what they're trying to do is maximize what they're going to get from that Iran deal by threatening the United States and Israel and the Arab countries that if you don't do exactly what I do, then there will be a threat against peace in the region.
A couple questions. First of all, will President Biden react to this sort of backhanded pressure?
Well, he made a statement, very important statement today, because there was a debate in Washington, as we all know, within the wings of the Democratic Party. One far left wing wants Biden to put a lot of pressure on the Israeli government and to partner actually with the radical forces in the region. So that we know it. But then the mainstream part of the Democratic Party want to stick with the position, the traditional position, is that the United States will stand by Israel if it's threatened. Now, there is a notion here. President Biden said we will be with Israel. The question is, when he mentioned two-state solution, what are the borders? What are the conditions? Then we go into the nitty-gritty of the negotiations.
Right. The president, I'll just read what he said. He said, there's no shift in my commitment, your commitment to the security of Israel, period. No shift, not at all. But I tell you what, there is a shift in that we have to have we still need a two-state solution. It's the only answer. Really quickly, because I have 30 seconds, did you mean to say, Walid, that there is a group, a faction inside of the Democratic Party that wants to work alongside Hamas? Did you say that?
Well, what I said is very clear. It's in the open news. I mean, what did we do in Yemen? Yemen, we had the Houthis, allies to Hamas and Iran, on our terror list. And what did the administration do a few weeks ago? They removed it from that list. So I am anticipating that this faction within the Democratic Party that has a great influence on the administration may well, in the next stage, demand that Hamas will be removed from the terror list. That's what they're saying on social media anyway.
Well, we'll have to have someone on here on the news and not social media. But appreciate your perspective, Walid Phares, as always. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Take care.